All right. Welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. Let's see. Two reviews, two impressions vids this week. Um, First of which is Transporter. This is an impressions vid. Both of my games were early access titles. Just to get all that out of the way here. It's fine by me because I'm actually trying to review this game. This is something that vexes me. Mainly because it's a very complicated game. And it's also involving a subject matter that I don't have an interest for. Um, and that, so the full name of this game isn't just Transporter because, okay, first of all, it doesn't have anything to do with Jason Statham, but it's Transporter, Transport and Logistics Simulator. But that still doesn't give a full breadth of what this might be because, transport and logistics, that can involve many stages, that can involve you being a truck hauler or managing a harbor or something like that. No, this is you managing both supply chains and also public transport, which is a lot. This is basically a macro transportation simulator. So it literally contains a lot of stuff, and it's got more stuff on the way. Like, for example, they don't have airports or planes in the game yet, so it's not content complete. But what it comes down to is, this is an incredibly complicated thing, and it doesn't do a good job of getting somebody who isn't either interested in logistics, has their passion in this. Like, this is one of those things that feels like 4X by X, which is perfectly fine. But it has the double-edged sword of being nigh impenetrable to, newcomers or, somebody who lay people, something like that. And, you can see some of the more, let's say, SimCity-ish elements here. Like, you can build roads, you can build rails, outfit them with traffic signs and traffic lights and all that kind of deal. You know, actually connect the logistical areas to from production areas to final transport areas. And sometimes one is interconnected to the other. Like, one place gathers the materials, then it has to be sent off to the refiners. Then it has to be sent off to the assemblers, and then the finished product goes out to the wider world, next town over, what have you. And you have to manage all that. And coupled with the requisite financial constraints and considerations that you'd expect from a simulator. Because, like right out the gate, you're not gifted a certain amount of money, like, say, a SimCity or a Tropico would do. No. You're outfitted with a loan, which means this is really heading the realistic edge of the spectrum. Because that means you have to deal with loan repayments and interest and all that fun stuff. Like, and yeah, I'll be honest, the financial aspects of SimCity were always the part I was least interested in. I understood why they had to be there, but yeah, I was more into the building cities and executing disasters. And I guess, for reference sake, no, you can't institute earthquakes or anything like that in the current build. Like, uh, now there is also a tutorial in this game, but oof, like it's pretty dry. Now it's more like it's very yeah. This is an instruction manual kind of deal. Like it'll lay out what you need to do, but it's once again like it's very boring if you're not into this stuff. Like I read about half of it and I had to stop because I was literally falling asleep reading it. Yeah. Once again, I understand the place where this is coming from. That is very realistic. Like something, you know, because transportation and logistics is something that is very boring, very bureaucratic. And that's being simulated well. And that's going to appeal to a certain type of personality, I suppose. Um, you know, but for those who aren't interested in, or have a passing interest in transportation and things therein, you're probably going to tap out very quickly unless you stick with it. Um, Either side of the coin, this is the kind of thing that requires some dedication. And let me see here. So, putting that aside, right, it's also got terraforming. Um, with I don't have too much to say about. Oh, that's right. I did want to talk about the graphics because, like, this super grid-based approach, I wasn't a fan of. Like, the game looks, quite frankly, kind of ugly. You know, but it's also a solo dev project, so I can understand why this game might look underpowered compared to, say, a farm simulator game or Microsoft Flight Simulator. Something that can afford actual production values. And yeah, I don't have too much more to say about this because once again, I did not get far in this at all. I didn't, it didn't really interest me. I don't care about the subject matter all that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell for those who do, they will be very well taken care of.
Yeah, there's a certain type of market for this game. It's probably
Yeah.
in Europe, but there's a market for this game.
I'm thinking specifically German.
Oh yeah, the
Like
Germans are gonna
they are,
love this.
yeah, they are very, very into sim games for whatever reason. I mean, it's a meme.
Mm,
It's a reason. They have farm simulator leagues like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, Petty, what are your impressions of Porter here?
It it's a game that exists. I'm kind of similar to you. I can't really get into it.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I like sim games, to a certain point. when they get this involved, that's when I kind of back off, because then it feels like you're making something. You're either making somebody who's actually passionate for this area, or you're making an actual tool for a job.
Mm-hmm. Does this
Like, I could
game
see,
have like any sort of auto or casual features, or is it all just manual this shit?
as far as I can tell, it's all manual. Like,
Mm,
and this game has like no starting point. Like,
yeah.
no easing in tutorial. That's why it reminds me of capitalism, most of all, because it had tutorials like capitalism had tutorials like this, where it was explaining the actual nature of capitalism and the various systems therein, and it's all very complicated stuff. Where you're either at rapt attention or your mind is melting. Like I said, I can't fault the game for what it's doing, because it's doing what it's purporting to do.
Mm-hmm.
It is a transport and logistics simulator.
Right.
It's got that part down pat. It's just, yeah. If you're looking for Goat Simulator, I just go elsewhere.
It's serious simulator, not joke simulator.
Yes.
Did we go
Very
over
much.
price?
Not yet.
All right.
And it's pretty reasonably priced right now at $16.99, $17. Once again, I have a feeling if you're into this stuff,
You already have this.
possibly, but they could also be waiting, because once again, this game isn't feature complete.
Fair.
Um,
Have the devs
because-
mentioned anything on price increase as development progresses?
Yes. They have said a slight price increase when it reaches 1.0. But okay, so current plans include like planes, different map environments with unique industries and vehicle sets, large map support, and workshop integration, mod support.
Yeah.
And to create AI competition. That is another thing that is missing. Like, there are no competing businesses. And
Right.
there's no multiplayer to speak of either. So, if you wanted to compete against a buddy, you can't do that. Or against a computer opponent. It's just all, you have to manage everything in a vacuum.
Yeah, keep going
So,
until you run out of resources and or go bankrupt.
it's something like that. Or you achieve synchronicity, or, there is also a lack of a actual tangible goal of any sort. Even the likes of like early Civilization titles and SimCity had this. Like, there was the vague meta goal of getting a certain amount of population in both. And Civilization 1 and 2 had, get to this age. Like, this game needs that as well. Like, you need to get your company to a certain size. You need to manage a city of a certain population, that sort of thing. It doesn't need to be completely objective based, but this game screams out for some fucking direction.
Mm-hmm.
That I do know.
Right.
It does. It doesn't have to be like the scenario mode in, say, a SimCity game, but there needs to be something to reach for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's about it in terms of feedback I can offer. Like, once again, this, none of this is my field, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't advise on the particular of copper mining or copper transportation or turning wood into pulp, or etc., etc., etc. All of this is in the game as components of the logistics simulation, but I couldn't. It's beyond me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, Golix, is there anything you wish to add to the conversation?
Not really.
All right. All right. So yeah, that'll about do it for Transporter here. It's good for what it is, but you had better be invested in the subject matter, or you're gonna be lost at this point. Maybe those are things that get adjusted in the early access period, but that's not something that's being promised here. This looks to be a hardcore sim for hardcore sim fans, specifically of the transportation and or logistical variety. Cannot emphasize that enough. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for this game. Be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fan reviews The House of Da Vinci.